Good morning, guys. Hope you all are doing fantastic. Happy Saturday. Let's take a look and see what is going on with Bitcoin for the day. So our daily candle, still no wick to the downside. Still basically have just price action moving up, which is very interesting. There is still a very good chance that we'll get at least some sort of smaller tail to the downside, but for right now, we've kind of been consolidating within a $200 range for the most part. Very tight price action. Definitely not something that you want to be playing, getting chopped up in. Never financial advice, but I personally would never want to play this, right? Because this is just, it's especially on the smaller time frames, this is the type of price action that'll just wreck you completely. Especially if you're 100xing, 200xing with a lot of money, because that's the only way to really make money in this type of price action. You can get chopped up really fast in this. So no expansive movement to really take advantage of, not like yesterday, right? So that being said, I am projecting that we might have a small potential move to test the bottom, or sorry, the top of this order block right here around 62.6. That would be a target I would be looking for if we were to get a wick to the downside. Doesn't have to happen, but that would be still a bullish scenario, basically getting rejected from entering into the order block off the top of it. So I am somewhat targeting that. I would like to see us close tweezer bottoms today. That would be great. Um, if not, then there is a potential that Sunday might show us tweezer bottoms. But I still do not want this low to get taken. I will tell you that. So there's a potential it can, especially because we've been trading up this whole, last basically, gosh, that would have been about what 16, no, 15 hours we've been trading up basically. So we have 9 hours left in this candle. I do, like I said, I would like to see some sort of wick to the downside, but we may just get that small continuation up here. Um, let's take a look at the 12 hour. 12-hour close without a wick to the downside, so that's interesting. Um, yeah, our low and our open are the same, so no wick to the downside there. This one does have a small wick to the downside. You could potentially, again, horrible day to do this, but you could basically long this, right? Because this is kind of a tweezer bottom type thing and see if it can get that continuation up like it is right now. It would kind of be a late entry, but you could probably try to see if you can get up to around 63,600. Again, $500 move up, nothing major, right? But it is a possibility. 8 hour, you got a three white soldier reversal potentially happening if this can close bullish in the next hour. So we'll see. We kind of have a tweezer bottom right there. Um, 4 hour, getting that continued move up. You did have a tweezer bottom here, starting to continue upward. A lot of bullish momentum. Again, but they are very small candles. I am way zoomed in, so you can see just how small they are, right? But just not a lot of price movement, which is to be expected because we had a very expensive week. So nothing major for right now. You are still way below the 200 MA, about to get that death cross with the 21 as well on the 4 hour. You got it going on the 6 hour as well. The 21 starting to catch up to price action very slowly but surely. So just be on the lookout for that. I don't want to see, obviously, this actually happen, but it could, right? The 21 is getting very close to the 200 MA, only about $300 away. So keep that in mind for now. Um, this is hourly. I still am expecting some sort of 786 retracement. Whether or not we go all the way to test this order block or we come like right about here, I'm still expecting something to occur to the downside to kind of get more people to short so we get more bridge up. But we don't necessarily have to do that. It's just something that I look for if I were to get, basically think about a possible entry. Based off of price action right now, I don't want any part of this because it's so choppy and within such a tight range. But if we do start seeing more of an expansive move and depending on liquidity, I might think about it. Just because there is still that possibility that we do get some expansion this weekend. 30 minute, you're kind of creating I almost want to say this like an inverted Bart Simpson. You look at this, you basically see this as a Bart Simpson or like some sort of Adam and Eve type of thing. It's not really a high Eve pattern, but you do have that, Adam and Eve type of vibe here, right? And then if you flip it back, that is inverted Adam and Eve, right? So there's a potential that that's an inverted Adam and Eve to bring us back to the upside. That would probably take you, back up into this range, like I said, to be, basically back above the 4 hour 200 MA. So I would be projecting that for the day, potentially, if it were that pattern. 15 minute, yeah, I mean, you're really just not getting the follow through. You had kind of a head and shoulders here. You haven't even had like a regular Adam and Eve here. It didn't play out. So, definitely it kind of tells me and shows me that this is considered the discount, at least for right now, is what it looks like. So there's a good potential that this will break up eventually. Now, whether or not it comes back down to some sort of retest to really make like an inverted cat ears, maybe that is also possible. So what you might be looking for is something like this, where you kind of have this cat ears like pattern reversed, right? So if I were to inverse this, you can kind of see how that's some nice cat ears there, but that could bring you back to the upside as well if it needed to do a good retracement there again. Again, it doesn't have to come back down here if it doesn't want to, but a lot of times if it is a continuation move, it'll come down and retest the support level before continuing on up. Okay. All right, guys, that is what I have for you for right now before we get into liquidity. Levels to watch 62.6, which would be the top of this order block. If we lose 62.4, again, guys, looking into 61K to 60,600, that's kind of the area I would be targeting to the upside if we were to get the move up. I'm not expecting a huge move up just yet. There is possibility that based on liquidity, we could get into the 64 range again. But, modestly, I'm just kind of hoping for a range between 63.6 and 63.9 to close out in. So definitely could get back in this range. Like I said, it could even get higher, but I'm being more reserved with my estimations. I'm assuming that it's going to, if it were to get up higher, it's just going to stay within this range. All right, that is what I'm seeing for right now in the charts. Let's see how liquidity aligns with that. So taking a look at our 4 hour on here. There's just no orders even on here. That's crazy. But anyways, let's take a look at our 4 hour. So the 4 hour, nothing really to drive us in either direction right now. Only if I really zoomed in, you can kind of see there's more red to the downside. Definitely could see us hitting this in August. This is a good pool of liquidity right here. I just don't know if it's going to be this week, next week, or towards the end of August. That's going to be the true question. But if I check off the 10x, you do have a small bridge to lead you into the upside. It's just probability wise, you have more of a chance of coming down here into this green area first, right? And testing that. Unfortunately with the 10x as well, you do have this huge area in 57K range. We could definitely get down here. I don't know if it's going to happen this month. And in general, remember what I said, guys, is there's going to come a point where we're no longer chopping around taking out both sides of liquidity, because right now this is like a seek and destroy on a big macro scale. There will be a point where price will flip bullish and we are considered in like the max discount area. And we won't be taking out any more of this. And eventually this will disappear until the next bear market. But there's gonna come a point where price is in up only mode and it's not gonna come back and revisit some of these red areas. So not to say that we're there yet, because from a timing perspective, in my opinion, we're not. But there is gonna come a point later on this year or maybe possibly early next year where price is no longer gonna want to reprice down and it's gonna just start going upwards more and just basically consolidating and keeping its move going upwards in an uptrend. Right? Doesn't mean we're going to have some great opportunities for a slight retracement as we, conquer the uptrend. But there is going to come a point where we just start slowly moving up and we don't come back down and taking out, double bottoms and that type of thing. Okay. Let's take a look at our 1 hour. So taking a look at the 1 hour, you have, a potential to move up into the 63,350-ish area, it looks like now. Might get rejected here, though. This is going to be a strong resistance line, potentially 63,351. So my whole idea of the 63.6 to 63.9 range might get invalidated. This could be a strong point of resistance right here. It's going to be very interesting to see. 50x does tell us that we do have a lot of bridges to move up even into the 64,000 range again. I mean, if it wanted to, guys, it could really even reprice up to 64.6, 64,578 around there. So just keep that in mind. That would be taking out this double top right here. That would be your best case scenario, your most bullish scenario for this weekend for right now. But I don't personally believe that it's going to get that high, but just be aware that it could, okay? Um, to the downside, I mean, we also potentially could basically take out some of this liquidity first, making that, double cat ears. It could, basically drop even further than that 786 retracement, take out this double bottom right here, and then bounce from this red area as well. That's another possibility. So if you are planning on playing either of these moves, just be aware, it's probably a good idea to protect below 62K level. Now, 50x does show us that we could even get down into the 61 range like we've been talking about. But again, like I said, I'm not expecting, really for this bottom even to get taken out. So I think as long as, again, not financial advice, but as long as you protect below 62K, you should be okay if you were to long this. Now, just keep in mind, I mean, this is very high risk. Okay. So the only thing that you've got going for you is the fact that we're in a discount, we're consolidating, and we're towards the end of the week. Those are like the three things that you have for you if you're looking for a bullish move. Your trend diff indicator, though, is telling you, daily is still bearish around a -2, so that's just regular bearish. Your 4 hour is major bearish because -3 is the max, so majorly bearish on the 4 hour. And your 1 hour is actually in a slightly bullish position at a 1. So some confliction there. Your bigger time frames are saying that they are bearish. But that doesn't mean that we could have some sort of slight recovery for the time being. Okay. Let's take a look at the 15-minute. Um, yeah, I mean, to be honest, guys, like even for me, this is probably down here would be the only way I'd probably be interested. I mean, I could play the 786 here if I wanted to, but it's just one of those things where you'd have to protect way down here, right? And then you got your stop loss deep. You could still get stopped out. It's better to just take the risk, put a limit order in here, and whether or not it gets hit, it's fine, and you just don't chase it. Again, it's weekend trading, so it's not something that like I really want to engage in the first place. It's more so just taking a risk and seeing if we can get back into the 63 to 600 to 63,900 range. So that's kind of what I would be expecting potentially for today or even leading into tomorrow. Again, there is still that possibility that we just roll over, we start going down into the 61K range. That is completely plausible at this point. Um, it's very rare that we create a new bottom over the weekend. It just doesn't happen as often. Usually Friday is your low of the week if you have a bearish week, and obviously even though we had a test of weekly open, we got above 65K, this is considered a bearish week now. So, that's what I'm seeing so far with price action. I'm seeing that somehow, some way, we're probably going to create some sort of cat ears pattern either today or tomorrow, and then possibly get that reversal back up. That's what I would be looking for right now. That being said, guys, when it comes to your order book right here, you do have a lot more orders to the downside for right now. You have a couple of them right here. About 868 Bitcoin to 1,000 Bitcoin, down to 62K. You just don't have the orders right now to bring you to the upside or even to the downside for that matter, which is why you're consolidating so tightly here. The bots whales are not active right now, as active. Like I said, because we had a very expansive week. You can't really expect the weekend necessarily to have that expansive move. The only reason why I would want it to have an expansive move to the upside is to get back above the weekly 200. But again, that's wishful thinking. It doesn't have to necessarily do that, right? So, your order book is telling you like there's nothing going on. This is a time to relax, step outside the charts, just chill out, regather yourself, regain yourself for the following week to come. Because next week will probably be a very interesting week. And if it stays, this weekend like this, where we're consolidating in a very tight range, next week will probably be very expansive and a lot of fun, whether it be to the upside or the downside. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look at our simple map finally, see what that's doing there. So for your simple map, you can see, I have to really zoom in here. But again, you have basically liquidity on both sides to bring you either way. You have 100x on both sides. Um, you know, for the downside movement, still expect that bounce off of 62,670. If you do not get it, there's a good chance that you're going to visit 62,370 area and test that. If you are able to get past that, then the next area would probably be around 62,000 even. So those are some levels to the downside to watch out for. To the upside, so you'd be looking at about 63.3. You get above there, you got to get above 63.5, and then you kind of can roll through until about 63.9. So you do have some follow through potentially that you could basically do. If you get above 63.9, you could really just kind of fall through until about 64,600. Again, alluding to the fact that if we were to fall through some of these levels, and break some of these resistance levels, we could get a stronger move to the upside if somehow, maybe it's a news catalyst that comes out or Trump posts or whatever it is. There's something that could potentially happen where we get some sort of expansive move, either testing to the downside first and then to the upside or vice versa. Okay. All right, looking finally at your swing time frames. You know, same situation, guys. 62,670 to the downside. You get past there, you roll into 62,370. Then you have a potential to roll into 62,000 even, possibly getting a bounce there. To the upside, you got to get past 63.3. You can roll into 63.5, and then finally getting into about 63,900 area, and then you could really roll down and just kind of take all this liquidity out until about 64,600. All right, guys, that being said, those are some levels that I will be watching for the day. Again, unless we get some sort of probably news or a post coming out, you're not going to see very much of any expansive move, more than likely. But there is potential that that could happen either today or tomorrow before weekly candle close. All right, guys, as usual, if you guys want to use Trading Different and its tools, feel free to use my code Sean. You'll get 10% off of your entire order by using that code. Um, you'll be able to identify trend, you'll be able to identify where liquidity is at. Highly recommend it for your day trading needs. You can see how accurate it is based off of my levels and using this, how I'm able to call price action levels within a few $100s at the most. So definitely a very great tool set to have in your suite. So highly recommend it. Use tradingdifferent.com/code/Sean to get that 10% off discount. That being said, guys, that's what I have for you for today. Unfortunately, I will be gone for the rest of the day, so I will not be giving you an evening update, but I will be back tomorrow morning, and I will be giving you an evening update tomorrow as well to make up for it. But I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Take care.